got culture.
Yeah, we got culture. Come out our
Right. How's this for culture?
Classics Corner.
What about your fucking iPad?
Fucking iPad.
That is a
and I'll tell you right
yeah.
now, it tells me to fuck off often now. It's
That's too bad. I mean, I can't talk. We lost an entire episode this week due to hardware issues on my part.
Oh no.
So, yeah.
Not again.
This wasn't because I was high. This is because my headset broke and James could hear the static and God bless you, James, for being a good trooper and going through the entire episode with like what must have been the most frustrating and distracting audio distortion, like sort of intermittent. Yeah, you couldn't. Like it would be gone for a little bit and then it would just be there, and it's so hard. It's like someone dropping a needle, but not just dropping it, but like just like slamming it into the record player. Very uncomfortable. So good for you.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Well, that's how the Extinction Agenda goes. It's unapologetic. Remember that time I was so fucking high I could barely speak?
Yeah.
Another classic episode in the bag.
Yeah. I was reading that ecstasy is during the pandemic, people weren't taking ecstasy. Other drugs on the rise, ecstasy, MDMA, not kind of stocks are down. So now it's time to buy.
Well, it's a little disheartening to just like take ecstasy and sit in your room, social isolation, I guess.
I think that was it. Yeah, it was really like a social thing. And so like now that the pandemic's done, right?
Yeah.
It's done, right?
Oh, good times are here again. That's right.
Yeah, fucking right. Well,
no, they're not. Fucking Deltacron times are here. Woo woo.
No.
Well, that's not happening.
Not yet.
It's Ukraine time. It's Ukraine time. That's what's happening now.
So you guys are deniers. Okay.
Well, I'm not denying it. Obviously I'm being satirical.
I'm ready for another lockdown.
You say that, and I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Nobody wants that. Because otherwise, all that ecstasy that I bought, having read the news, is just gonna fucking it's just gonna fucking sit there. I'm trying to turn a profit here, you motherfucker.
Yeah. Don't hurt his buzz.
Yeah, sorry guys. I mean, I didn't realize there was that much hot ecstasy on the table.
Yeah, well, I'm just rubbing my legs this whole time right now. Like, oh god, I really love you guys.
Fuck.
Yeah. I heard that. Sorry, I couldn't read that Bloomberg article. I was behind a paywall or some shit, or I didn't try very hard. It wanted me to like sign over all my cookies or some shit, and I was like, no thanks.
Oh no.
Elon and his recent charlatan stunt to fight Putin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a high on the list of great Elon moments.
So what? Sorry, fill me in here because I didn't read the story. So I just got the headline. Is there?
Oh yeah, I just went with the headline too.
Is there? Yeah,
we just read the headline.
Yeah.
There's not really much to it.
Elon challenged him to. I guess I'm not sure what you would call it. I'm not really sure. It would not be a gentleman's fight. It was it's not. I don't think it's a fight to the death. It might be a fight to the death. I'm not sure, but some kind of a mixed martial arts fight, which is. I don't think Elon can fight, but I don't know that.
Even if he can, I got to give it to Putin. That's a big Russian bear, and who's had a judo background for a long time,
KGB training.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. You have to have some. Putin? If you have to have some pretty heavy hands at the age of 60 something.
Are we talking?
Anybody?
Right. You think, that's what I'm saying. He's got Superman strength and not Superman, but I mean, he's got old man strength.
I'm talking about a fight to the death though against the younger guy. You got to be thinking I'm gonna attack your fucking knees.
Mhm.
your genitals, your fucking soft old kidneys, attack your throat. It would be
Yeah,
like
well-
a fucking wild badger.
Yeah, that's
He,
fair, but that goes both ways. Like, I can't imagine that the
Yeah, and you're gonna do it with
the
old
greatest
burnt
gangster.
out joints, old ruined joints.
I don't like Elon's gonna have to like start and again, I don't know. Like, he's been hanging out with Joe Rogan, right? So like maybe he's been training, getting some nootropics going, and
don't know,
getting his
yeah.
supplements and stuff. But
Boy,
I
This
don't
all
know.
seems unlikely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm also telling you right now, that's a fucking fake black belt. I'm putting it out there.
There's
Putin's?
rumors about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've-
man,
you
you're
know,
just scared of him. He's a big fat fucking loser.
well,
He's got
that's
nothing.
funny.
in the
What is
tank.
he? What is he?
That
Is he
sounds like
big
a
fat-
challenge.
Yeah, is he a big fat fucking loser, or is he an insane person? You know, like, it's just
Yeah, he's a
Uh,
dangerously insane dictator. Give him a black
Right.
belt. Shut him up.
I think he's at least a black belt, but that doesn't mean like he's a great one.
No,
I'm
like a fucking honorary black belt. It's like a guy that gets an honorary degree from a university. It's like graduating from Trump University. You still end up being a slack-jawed fucking child of Trump.
well, what if we discovered that he was a black belt prior to entering into politics? I'm
I'd be more
not.
impressed with that.
Yeah, and I do suspect that something like that's the case. But on the other hand, like
Another made-up thing today. That's 2 for you.
you mean like finding made up things or making?
No,
things
just
up?
making up made-up things. Yeah.
Yeah. Did I make up a
Well,
made up? When did
yeah,
I make something up?
You did it twice today.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the storyteller of our generation.
Well, I like that. Yeah.
Mhm. What did I make up?
I don't remember.
Jesus Christ! Who's making up shit now? Fucking weirdo.
Uh,
How's anything else? Anything else pop to mind there, fellas?
Oh yeah, I'm just checking out this article here to give you a little more detail. He
Oh,
tagged the
Uh-huh.
official Kremlin Russia account of the Russian president. Putin did not respond, but
Oh,
a rival chief of
Coward.
Russia's space agency tweeted Pushkin at him, "You little devil, you are young. Compete with me weak. It would only be a waste of time. Overtake my brother first." Google Translate, so it wasn't probably not the greatest translation there.
no, that seems
But,
accurate. That's how they
yeah.
speak over there.
Yeah. So it's
Wait,
that's
what?
it's still simmering. This is still simmering. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. It's a matter
It's
of
gonna
time.
be a fight club ending between the two.
Absolutely.
That's
yeah.
how you handle. That's how you handle life.
That's That's how you deal with fascists. That's what we learned. Yeah. So yeah, great. Today we're talking on the Extinction Agenda about David Fincher, early David Fincher. We thought that we would. I don't know. Yeah. Well, James, what did you do? You were just like, you know what? I got things to say about these movies, and you listed off a bunch of them, and I was like, shit, we could talk about those movies. And one of those movies was, I think, Fight Club, possibly Seven. And so I was like, okay, we'll do both.
Yeah, that's probable.
In 1995 and 1999, these movies. These are the movies that put Fincher on the map. Obviously, Alien 3, Fincher joined, but that's a different conversation. That's a big clusterfuck that he happened to be involved with. Good movie, but like not his movie, right? Seven and Fight Club put him on the map as kind of like one of those guys, as a capital G guy. So yeah, Seven. You don't like Seven, James?
No, didn't particularly care for it this time around. Found it flat. Found cinematography meh. Like fucking basically very similar cinematography to Dirty Harry.
Whoa, interesting.
Shitty beat cop fucking camera work. Fine, great. Like I get the theme, the atmosphere, the shitty coffee offices. Was gritty.
Yeah.
Achieved.
Yeah.
You put little bugs on the fucking actors, and actually Fincher's notorious for that, isn't he? He did it
Well, he
to
did that
fucking
in.
Sigourney Weaver also.
That's true,
Like,
but that's
I'm gonna start my career with making so much atmosphere that actors fucking hate me.
okay. Well, that's not what happened in Seven, but I
Yeah,
know the story behind the scene that you're talking about. It's kind of a funny like.
what, the
Anyway,
gluttony guy?
yeah, the gluttony guy. They put that on a soundstage, and they had like it was surrounded with tarps and stuff like that, and apparently it like fucking stunk like old food and shit like that. And
Ugh.
they were in there for
Oh.
like 2 days. And yeah. A lot of the stuff that you'd be surprised how much is soundstaged, like listening to them talk and the audio commentary.
Wow.
Yeah, they'd find a set and then they would recreate it in the soundstage, so that way they had more control over it.
Wow,
And
that's
yeah, but I
smart.
did wonder about the cockroaches. How do you keep the fucking cockroaches in there? And apparently it was just covered in garbage bags, tarps and stuff like that. And they had a professional cockroach wrangler, that's
Yeah,
his
he did
job.
like some
just-
kind
you
of
just
a
gotta train
gross. I think he
Yeah.
did some kind of a gross like Vaseline border.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they did not
yeah.
escape.
Yeah.
Which is fucking disgusting.
Yeah. Pretty neat. So
I
yeah, okay.
guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's
Yeah.
just that's like one of my millions of complaints. But I just feel like, I mean, and like actually Chris brought up a really good point when we were doing in the chat is he's the first one. So yeah, there's a lot of things that draw an influence from this, but I think now that like TV cop shows have hardened up, Special Victims Unit gives you a good fucking grotesque story now once in a while. So does Bones, and that's what I was joking around about. I said this is like a fucking episode of Bones with no romantic charm. And that's maybe because cop TV is hardened up so much now due to influences like this, that this just seemed like just an underwhelming romp through a boring Kevin Spacey serial killer story.
Yeah. That's
This
totally
is
fair.
shocking
Like,
to me.
yeah, but I think okay. So putting aside like the sort of the negative evaluation of the movie, I think James is right though that like society as a whole took so much from this movie.
Yes, definitely.
this changed the aesthetic nature of all police procedurals and all serial killer negative narratives going forward from this. Like how many things look like the opening of Seven now, like with the 9 Inch Nails and the quick cuts and stuff like that. Like they made that.
Yeah, and the horrific crime scene. So like Chris, you're right. Like I'm not giving it its props by saying that about it, because saying it could be like one of the heaviest influence things ever in the last 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah, but
so Chris,
you're right. I mean, sometimes, when the influence is so pervasive, I definitely get that it can be, you can kind of look back on it and be like, I don't see what's so special about this now. I remember a story about some, I can't remember, it's apocryphal, but like a college professor or some student was telling him, like Lord of the Rings, so cliche, like, it's always these elves and dwarves and stuff. It's like, well, this started it all. But sorry, James, you were going to ask a question?
No. Actually, which one? Me? I was going to ask. I was just going to ask what you think of the movie. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah. I
so
loved this movie when I was a kid. I haven't watched it since I was a teenager. I think I was surprised at how well it held up in my estimation. Even just, I guess, some of the nuance, like when you're watching it back then, a lot of it's the shock value of all the different murders, and I was really compelled by Morgan Freeman's character this time around, and the sort of dynamic between him and Pitt, and the I don't think I ever realized before that Morgan Freeman's retiring and like Pitt's just starting his career, and the whole element of like the 7 days till his retirement as well.
Mm-hmm. I used to watch this movie on my birthday out of a weird sort of ritual. I did it for probably a decade. I've seen this movie so many times. And watching it this time, I hadn't probably, because I had seen it so often. I kind of stopped. I was like, okay, I can't watch it anymore. I'm all done. Watching it this time, I was like, shit, man, this is like James. I I don't agree with you because I really like the movie, but I do agree with you in that like it's going back and like it's like watching Hitchcock. You're like, fuck, this sucks. Like why is this so influential? Why is this so influential? And it's because so much of it got sucked. And it's like watching. It happens all the time. Whenever something's really big and you go back to what the creative source, like the juice, you're just like, oh man, like you gotta start looking at like the details in order to really kind of find appreciation in it. It becomes kind of an exercise.
I know what you mean. Like, I'm not trying to like dig on it that bad. Obviously, it's a great movie. It's a classic movie. But I just that was the feeling. It's just like going back and revisiting it this time. It really lost the piss.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you can say that too. I don't know if you guys. I tried to watch Terminator 2 recently and fell asleep about halfway through, and I was just like, and for the grandiose experience that this was, also is like, you know, and there's some things to take into account, you know, like that one of the greatest car chases ever, you know, and the amount of work that goes into something like that, even setting up those murder scenes is like fucking awful. Like that. What was it? Was it the Greed guy? Said the fucking poor guy was stuck to the rug with fake blood. The actor,
the sloth guy, or really? Okay. The lawyer who had to cut his own pound of flesh.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ! Like, they went to great extents, and they got like some real like visceral crime scenes, and that's the cool, like one of the coolest takeaways I think for the movie.
Yeah, I found like.
Go ahead, sorry.
To me, the body's like just like so gross still. Like just like I don't recall, and maybe I just haven't been catching up on Bones or any of the police procedurals, but like just the vein, like purple kind of grotesque swollenness of them, the sloth, like with all those pictures as he's deteriorating grotesquely. You just you look at that, it's like body horror.
Oh, and when he fucking like, you got what you deserved, and you know, fuck, you know, like Jesus Christ, guy? Come on, yeah, fucking dude, that's proper grotesque, you know, like I'm, you know, mimicked or not, that to my eyes that held up, that was proper disgusting. And
the fucking air fresheners.
That's a detail. The air fresheners, it's like a fucking creepy forest of them in that room.
So, James, you said something interesting in your comparison to like Bones or whatever. You said that it lacked romantic charm, and that's definitely something that's absent from this movie. This is not a movie about, not as such. I mean, we can get into it a little bit, but it's not about women. It's not. There's no room for them in this story. Like,
but the funny thing is though that he's tried to insert it so that you have soul and pain behind your grand finale fridging. But it's unsuccessful. Gwyneth is flat. Brad's flat. I believe nothing about their relationship. So there was a bit of a performance rift for me there.
It really, you're kind of right. It really depends on how much you are charmed by watching Gwyneth Paltrow just like watch Brad Pitt through some glass, and just kind of sort of watch him watch the news and wake up in the morning and take the crusty off his eye and stuff like that. And you're just like, and I'm a sucker for that. Obviously I find that very charming, but I do agree with you though that it really,
maybe it was like Brad that that didn't exude the chemistry, I don't know.
No, well, I don't know. Everyone's gonna have different reactions. I think that the work is mostly done by the fact that we know that she's pregnant, and she's just so faithful. She's so pure. And this story, and the story is it's driving at sort of a medieval devil morality play thing, and with the trickster, like teaching a sermon to everyone, and so that element, that sort of medieval, she's the virgin, even though she's not a virgin, but she's still sort of pure and rural and good. She's a good woman, and that's what is kind of presented at the end, and like that does a lot of the work. So like it's a lot of cultural baggage that is brought to the end. So I guess
Oh, go ahead.
Go on.
No, you finish that.
No. Oh, I was just going to say that I agree with James that it's not necessarily the relationship; it's mostly the cultural baggage, and maybe how much you can be charmed by Gwyneth Paltrow, which I'm guilty of.
I think where I take this movie, the direction it's coming from, is not so much their relationship, but the it's New York. It's a long lineage of things that are just like thinking this is a spiritual successor to Taxi Driver in a way, right? Like that discussed with the just the city and just like the corruption in it, filtered through Kevin Spacey in this case, and other people just trying to run around trying to keep up with him. But there's like the Frank Miller kind of like the corrupt city sort of thing. But that New York is a character, and I think the writer had that similar experience of like the culture shock of moving to the city, finding himself miserable and just depressed and overwhelmed by what he experienced there. I probably shouldn't bring this one up, but like even like going back to Lovecraft, like his reaction to being in Brooklyn was just to get like super racist in his stories, and just like the city had a profound impact on him there. So yeah, it was just something about put the wrong author in that setting, and you're gonna get some real dark shit out of it.
Yeah, it's funny. And it also, like, James, you said Dirty Harry, and I see what you're saying, because it's a police procedural that has still kind of the camera work. It's coming out of that tradition, and then draped on top of it is Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. And you know what's funny too, with you guys both talking about the sort of the procedural like nature of Seven, and the way that the cop drama and crime scenes are staged. Basically like when you look back at something like Silence of the Lambs, you get to see that like the police procedure was not displayed at all, almost, or not properly, or in any kind of way that was interesting. It was like ludicrous more than anything else.
You mean in this movie?
No, in Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, right. Have you seen that lately?
Yeah, that's a whole.
Yeah. No.
I was just curious. I'm just out of curiosity.
Probably within the last like 6 years.
I'll agree with. Yeah, I was just curious if you'd seen it lately. I wasn't about to like jump into its defense. Like
no. I just, like I just find that it was like which is fine. It's fine, but it was just more. It was the story there, or the relationship between the serial killer and the cop is more important than us giving a shit about what's happening at the precinct, right? But
yeah. And this movie, even though it feels like it's taking place in the 1930s, it could very easily be, and it's like they don't say it's New York, and it's filmed in LA, but they never really name it, and it's raining all the time, like all the fucking time, and it's dark. It's almost like it's not a real place. It's like and it feels like 1930s, but every once in a while there's a computer, or there's like the detective equipment. They'll bring in the fluorescent lights, and they'll be able to look for fingerprints and stuff like that. And there's all this stuff, but it's sort of grafted into this magical realm of darkness.
I love the gloom and like the way the flashlights cut through like those spaces and stuff like that. I think part of that sense of like being out of place is Morgan Freeman, and his like just part of his character is to be kind of out of time. He's on a typewriter. He's very old school. And I think that, you're kind of, a lot of it is witnessing the film through his eyes.
That's true. And I clearly kind of see it as a sort of a medieval kind of story, but placed within a mystical 1930s little bit more future, like with futuristic police elements kind of grafted on top. And I think of him within that realm as a monk, someone who's sort of cloistered themselves. And the only thing that sort of attaches him to, like he describes how he had that the relationship that went bad. I wouldn't have a kid. I wanted the abortion. I wore her down. And he also has that switchblade. That and all of those things hint at something darker, But like at this point he's kind of let it all go. And at this point he's just an old man in his cave, questing for knowledge,
And right on the onset of the introduction of Brad, it's established that no matter what city you were in, no matter what you were working as detective, no matter what horrors and fucking crimes you've seen, that shit is not here. Here is hell.
Yes.
Yeah. That's like that's established that they're whatever fucking city they're in, whatever area they're in hell. Like they're in the worst fucking place on the planet. In the fucking country, whatever. So that's like kind of neat. Like you guys say, it's like it's like a fantasy world that's like the worst world, and that's like sort of like that's not subtle. That's like that's like right in the text, right?
Yeah, right
on the onset. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's kind of neat in itself. But
yeah, it's like Gotham.
Oh, it is like Gotham for sure.
Yeah.
In fact, if you could I think both these stories, you could make a case that they're kind of Joker stories in a way.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, and you're not there's when we get to Fight Club, well, we're going to get to Fight Club, but there is an article in the the New Yorker. It's like the men who still like Fight Club. And it's like, and it talks about like Fight Club sort of, influence within society, within the manosphere, within pickup culture, within, all
we
that.
Talk
all
about
that.
that.
Yeah. Well, but then it slowly slides into a review of the Joker, and it's So you're definitely not the only person to see that. And then, of course, Kevin Spacey is the ultimate Batman villain, and the problem is that there's no Batman in this universe, and so he gets away with it. He's got no reason to live. He's got no arch nemesis. You imagine if Batman showed up, he might not have wanted to blow his brains out. He might have kept going.
He would
might have caught him.
Himself
might have been a bit Zaz-ish. Might have caught him about halfway through.
Yeah.
I do like that. Because I think I get impatient with detective things because often like the detectives are just reacting, they're on their heels, but I like that they can, they find his apartment, he taps that like secret library record. It's just kind of funny, just like the guy who's like checking out Milton and Canterbury Tales and all that, he's our prime suspect. But
right.
yeah It's only a real sicko could read those in these ages. Yeah, but it's cool. Like, then they get the upper hand on him. It's like it throws a curveball. Suddenly they're not just reacting, and it really tightens the plot, I think.
It does, but it makes the movie make no fucking sense after that. Because
How so?
Well, because John Doe, John Doe he's aware of David Mills, right?
Yeah,
okay, so there's room for that. But like he's like, I have to up my timeline. Like, what, you planned to find a police detective who was hot-blooded and idealistic, and like, what did you have a crystal ball? Did you know you were going to encounter this man, and like you knew that you would encounter this person 10 years ago as you set about your business of like getting this pederast and tying him to a bed and cutting off his hand, and when how fluid and fucking demonic is this individual? It doesn't, the fact that they got the upper hand on him and they got the apartment, and he could have got caught in that moment, but of course he escaped, and then like he continues on with his schemes after that with the lady who cuts her nose off.
Yeah.
So
it's funny that, speaking of like plot holes, like,
yeah,
if he just found a person who just like decided to call the ambulance instead of like letting herself die because of, like, he disfigured her, then like, what, does he have to do that one over? Like, he could have gone through a lot of people that way. Would have not been
Holy
good.
shit! Yeah. Imagine, yeah, but it's Gotham, right? So he knew. But it's
he did his research.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think,
He knows.
I think it fell into place. Like I think that was sort of like he probably. Well, I don't know. We don't really know this, but you could see how sudden inspiration in the moment of meeting Brad Pitt. It's like, here's, you know what? I had a plan, but this guy's better. This is even better. I'm rolling with this.
John Doe's really interesting to me because on the one hand, like he's a fundamentalist terrorist. He's like, you see like it's like leaderless resistance because like this act of his is meant to be a revolutionary act in, like people are going to think about it and study it and blah blah, like he's like people are gonna he's expecting this to be like the birth of something, and like a martyr, and on the one hand, so that there's that, but on the other hand, he also is like he's like Satan, and I go to this well a lot, and I'm sorry for this, but I mean like he's very much like a demon, he controls, they're so behind him, and he's so in control of his environment. And think about when they finally catch him. Or actually, he hands himself in, right? And during the scene where they're looking through the one-way glass, he's looking at Brad Pitt the whole time, and just like dunking his tea and looking at Brad Pitt and talking to his lawyer and stuff like that. There's a supernaturalness to him that I think is required for this story to work. If John Doe's head were to split open and a UFO were to fly out, I would not want you to be surprised.
Yeah, that's true because he yeah. Sorry, I don't know where I was gonna go with that. He's just he's too in control of everything to the point where like it almost has to be like an over and above evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. He brings them out to the desert too, right? Like that's like in Christian mysticism, that's where you encounter demons, right?
It's yeah. And that's and it's weird. That's the only sunny place. That's the only dry place. He just brings them out there to that moment of confrontation with a demon, and tempts the hot-blooded idealist.
So I'm going to put it out there. Like
sure.
Obviously the drama revolves around Pitt and Kevin Spacey, John Doe, but I'm going to put it out there that Freeman's kind of the Batman. Like there's a kind of sympathy between those characters, and I think it's that like Freeman has that empathy. Like in the first crime scene, like did the kids see it, this murder, and as part is like, who the fuck else would ask that? Like what's wrong with you? But it's that grinding down. Like he's it's the movie's really about like his empathy. Like he sleeps to that metronome. Like he's just going through the motions. But Brad Pitt kind of like winds him up again, gets him going. Thinking about the world again. But it like that moral exhaustion that he feels is very similar to John Doe. Like it's like they're both see the brokenness in the world. They're just seeing it from different ways.
Yeah. Well, John Doe refuses to. Yeah, because. Yeah, he does sympathize with it. He's just like, it makes more sense to beat your kid. It makes more sense to take drugs. Like in a world like this, in this fucking constantly raining, shitty fucking city where it's always 1930s. Definitely do that.
Well, what else too? Like when they talked about him, they even on the first one, the gluttony, they said like he made like multiple like trips to the grocery store.
Yeah,
like he's just so in control. Like he's putting up his little air fresheners. He's feeding this guy fucking antibiotics. He's going to the grocery store. He's comfortable in his own hell. To the point where like pitting this scenario to Brad Pitt, like that was never going to fail. Like that was gonna hit.
Yeah, I think. Another reason that this drives me back to thinking about like the Middle Ages or whatever, like I keep talking about Brad Pitt's character, David Mills, as hot-blooded, and I'm thinking about the four humors, like he just had an excess of blood because he was young, and it made him prone to exuberance, and it made him prone to idealism and rage. And you see he's hot-blooded, and Morgan Freeman's character has become very melancholic, contemplative, and he's over the years his blood has cooled. And yeah, you're right. When Brad Pitt, when Mills does sort of activate him again, he's like, but also the chase against John Doe, John Doe's sermons, John Doe's message is troubling Somerset as well. I think both of those, the confluence of those two things, like he feels like these two things are about to interact with each other to tragic results, and he's disturbed by it. And he knows it's coming, like he can feel it, which is why he tries to like quit right away. He's like, I cannot be involved with this. It's not going to stop. But then he can't, and that's the devil, if, going along with my own thinking, that's the devil's success. He cannot quit the world. And he doesn't make the world a better place at the end of this story.
No, he definitely doesn't.
Even though there's that fucking pithy ending with the doesn't really make much sense. Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. Apparently that was a studio, like the studio insisted on it. They were supposed to
Yes, just the shot
walking away. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I've always liked that line. I always think about that line actually. It's one of the more memorable things.
Well, it sounds nice. I'm not sure if it makes any, like it softens the movie though. Like this movie does not end. Like I don't understand why he's go on.
No, it definitely doesn't soften it. I don't. Is it really? I mean, I guess Brad Pitt's life is like a disgusting hellscape at the end of it, and that's a problem for him. But is shooting John Doe that big of a problem for him? I was kind of like wondering about that. It's like, I don't know.
He didn't want the devil to win.
Yeah,
that's what and that's the only way. That's the only way it makes sense. That's the only way this story makes sense at all. Because man, shoot that guy in the fucking head.
Yeah,
you just killed your wife, but don't do it. He'll win. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking this time around.
Yeah, but in this universe, like that sort of ethical question has like big import
in the morality play of it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. James, a little factoid for you that you may or may not know. I gained a great deal of respect for Brad Pitt watching these two movies. Watching him, like I watched Seven twice, watched Fight Club twice. I learned they filmed this over 55 days. Brad Pitt has his hand in a cast. Do you know why he has his hand in a cast?
No, I knew he had his hand in a cast. I knew something, and it swelled up so bad it looked terrible in some of the shots. But you have to actually look for it to see it. But
yeah, he fell through. So there's that scene where they're jumping over cars and shit like that. He fell through a back windshield, pushing himself out of it. He fucking, sorry if this is triggering, but he cut the tendons in his hand. He cut nerves. And then he had microsurgery that day and went back to work.
Man.
5 days later,
I juiced that for as long as possible when that happened to me.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I would too.
I was laid up.
Yeah.
It's only one tendon and no nerve damage.
Yeah. His shit got all fucked up. And so and he filmed for like 5 more weeks with his hand. That's why you'll note it. Like I didn't even notice it, but listening to them talk about the movie, there's a lot of like scenes where like actually his arm's kind of dangling down off camera. You don't really see it, but they're so good at hiding it. They filmed almost.
And what's funny? Since I know all about tendon injuries, you fucking cannot go and grip anything or impact that hand or anything. You'd be at risk at damaging whatever that digit microsurgeon did, and then there's a proper chance that if you damage what they did, it could be irreparable.
Yeah.
So like you have to baby that surgery after. So how they got away with that, I kudos to him.
Yeah.
Didn't know
you
that.
see him you see him later on, like when he's kicking the door in, he's got the cast on his arm, like he's got the bandage on his arm and stuff like that. They just fucking work with it. Like he actually kept filming that day for like 5 more hours or something like that, even after he had injured himself. And he just fucking kept going. And I'm just like, yeah, like Brad is, listening to him talk and watching him work, it's just like he's smarter and more dedicated than you really think he is. You know, you're just like, oh,
that's a lot of extra resolve, I guess.
yeah. You're just like, wow, good for you, pal. I mean, he's getting millions of dollars, but like, and it really, it made me think of like how bad it must have been on Interview for the Vampire, or Interview of a Vampire, or whatever the fuck that, because he wanted to quit, right? Must have been so bad. For him to be just like, I got to get the fuck out of this.
Turning the actors upside down until their heads almost blew up so that they could trace the proper veins. That's horrible. That's fucking pretty gross and unacceptable.
Filming at night all the time.
Stupid vampire effect.
You can fucking Google vein diagrams or schematics even back then, probably. Like, not necessary. You could have got a veiny bodybuilder in and just mapped him a little.
But it's got to be good, man. Yeah, it worked out. It's, they look like vampires. Fine.
They did, yeah. They really did.
This movie is so dark because they used a special. So the filming nerds who may or may not be listening will know this, but they used something called silver retention. I'm not going to pretend to understand what that means, but basically it just like sucks out all the silver, and then they have to kind of like put some of it back in, and it just created everything so dark. That's why that's how they got that effect of it's like something some Japanese cinematographer does, so they stole that effect. And yeah, I think this movie just looks so fucking rich, so good. Like even in all the, and it's filmed so smoothly, just like moving from space to space, and yeah, I don't know, like it's old school, but at the same time it's just like, yeah, it's just very nice, and it's also sort of music video. He comes out of music videos, so it has that,
that's kind of signature to his style, isn't it? At least in early Fincher. Yeah. Fight Club for sure too. There's some like some parts of it, the restlessness of it feel a bit dated now. Like there's a time when that sort of style felt like this is the future of movies, and now it kind of feels like this is just kind of like music videos.
I was gonna say like Guy Ritchie's first movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. I think Seven doesn't suffer from that as much as Fight Club does. Absolutely, for sure.
Agreed.
Seven is very much, like kind of Hitchcock, like a lot, really holding scenes, following them, simple.
Yeah, the camera's pretty still for a lot of it.
Yeah. I just it's looking at the numbers is always kind of starting to interest me ever since we did the Taken franchise. So this one did 30 million, and then box office, it was made out of 30 million, box office 300 million. So obviously, big deal, but it's like a Taken movie. It's just right in that. And I thought about it in terms of, because people bitch about, myself included, about the Marvel movies, cinema, blah blah blah. But there's always a space for moments like this, and it's the $300 million space is how I'm starting to think about it. There's always that $300 million space for people who want like something, like an experience, and everybody kind of flocks to it, and it like permeates culture in a way that the superhero movies and the shit of the day, like that influences Saturday Night Live, and you're not going to understand what the fuck they're talking about 20 years from now. But the stuff that comes from the $300 million space, you're going to be living that stuff, and then when you go back to it, you're going to be like, well, this is the now. This is my everyday now, and I didn't know where it came from, but it comes from that. Fight Club, strangely, I guess, to transition, unless we have anything else to say with Seven.
No, nice.
More expensive movie, made less money. If I didn't write down the amount, but I think it's like 600. It's 60 million, and then I think it only made like 100 and something million, something like that.
I was fucking
Nonetheless,
shocked.
yeah.
Sorry
Go on.
to interrupt your flow, but
Yeah.
both of these movies, I was shocked at how weak the critical and box office reception was. But when I saw both of them, I thought they were like the biggest movie ever, like of that year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was. That's exactly it. That like it did pretty poorly in theaters, pretty poorly with test audiences.
Mm-hmm.
That's because fat ass fucking capitalists that sit on their high Hollywood horses don't like anti-establishment movies.
Well, they like they made Fight Club, man. They
Kidding,
made Fight
not
Club.
kidding. No, they made it, but somebody made it, but not the gold ring wearing sweaty little critics.
There was let's talk about the movie, and then before we I don't know. I guess we're here. Like critics with this movie, they either like really like me at the age of 19, we're like, holy fuck, this movie amazing, and this movie is counterculture. This movie's this movie's that, and then there was like a large, I think Roger Ebert even, but also like historians of labor and craftsmanship and stuff like that. They like Henry Giroux, I think I'm saying his last name correctly. They were like, oh, this movie is fascist. This is a fascist movie, and this is not good. And it's weird, like it was very, I think, polarizing. I think it's safe to call that a polarized response. I think.
Yeah, I think
don't
that's
think
fair. I think that that's what that's sort of a big thing with the any like a movie like that is that there is there are people that do not want to have any kind of American dream anti-speak. Like, own a condo, buy nice stuff, get rich, have a great corporate job, and that's the dream. Drive a Porsche out of your fucking high rise, and then then to this day, that's still what's like jerked off in everybody's face from the US. So they don't fucking like things like this. A lot of people don't, and they buck against it hard.
The solution that this movie, I guess what it sells, and it doesn't do a good enough job, I think, of underselling, is that the solution is to become a terrorist and a black shirt. Like they literally wear black shirts. They literally engage in sort of violence and exclude women and want a revolution in the streets. And
now I'm not saying that that's what I think the takeaway is that the really like on a broad stroke the end solution to everything is not you don't want to fucking emulate these guys. That was not the answer. It's just that on a lipstick viewing of it, you can say, hey, it is cool to not really worry about material possessions. I think there's smaller takeaways than the big message, right?
It's really a complex movie because it's doing two things. It's hitting that the anti-capitalist message hard, but then the sort of like solution that this character finds is violence, is fighting, is this sort of club that grows out of his own sort of like hell, his personal hell of insomnia. They do a really good job of selling that. Like you spend a good time with this character, just kind of getting the shittiness and just like the misery of that insomnia. But the one thing I admire the hell out of this movie for is that it makes you say it. It's taking you, like, you have to say when this is becoming, you have to recognize it, that this is becoming a they're turning to fascism. Like this is at a point they break from whatever good they were doing, but that doesn't negate the initial dissatisfaction. And James, I was just wondering, did this remind you at all of Invisibles?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, like this is like, because Tyler's response to this is all situationist, it's all détournement, all that shit. You take a corporate thing and you subvert it, and then it's a practical joke, and then you break it. And then, like when he's giving out instructions at the beginning of Project Mayhem, he's sitting on a fucking toilet.
Yeah. That's
Like
right.
but then at the same time, it's like violent, but like what, but the violence is going to produce violent ends. But
Yeah, it
also,
veers
like,
more towards like I guess because there's no like sense of collective action in
yeah,
Tyler's vision, like not in the sense of like again being like for labor or being against capitalist in any effective way. So all that's left is sort of like violent revolution against it.
yeah. Well, I don't know. Here, I'll read a thing. And the critical commentary. This is from Henry Giroux' fucking scathing 30-page Fight Club. Fight Club is so bad. And here's like, I was like, oh my god, dude, just fucking chill.
He's a billionaire, correct?
No, he's a critic. He's like an academic theorist.
Historian of labor. Like he studies craftsmanship.
But some of these guys have no sense of humor. That's the problem. No ability to read irony. Yeah.
Well, no, I think so this struck me as kind of a true statement. And the critical commentary on consumerism presented throughout the film is really not a serious critique of capitalism as much as it is a criticism of the feminization and domestication of men in a society driven by relations of buying and selling. And then he's got a more pithy statement. It's just like capitalism. He's not against capitalism. It's just like he's against the women stuff. And I think that's really it. Like that doesn't mean that's what this movie is about, but that's what Jack.
I think that's sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's what Jack's working through. I
think that's what Tyler's working through. I think that Jack is working through Tyler.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. I guess we're going to have to figure out nomenclature here. Or like how we're going to talk about this, because like spoilers, everyone. Like he is Tyler Durden. So Edward Norton is Tyler Durden and is Brad Pitt. Blah blah blah. And fucking before we get into that bullshit, can I just like fucking say bravo on how well they did that?
Oh yeah, it's so well earned.
Yeah, and rewatching this movie is such a joy, and watching everybody like smirk and all the little hints and stuff like that, and like it really doesn't quite make sense, but it's enjoyable to reread it, being in on the joke. Like suddenly there's dramatic irony.
And the one thing that sorry, go ahead, James. Go ahead.
No, please.
I was just gonna say the one thing, like this movie hinges on the idea that if you walked out of a bar seeing a guy beat the shit out of himself, you'd be like, yeah, I want in on some of that.
Yeah, what the fuck's going on? Like, how charming do you have to be after that to like, hey guys, I'm drunk out of my fucking tree and I've just been beating the shit out of myself. Let me tell you about the dangers of like Martha Stewart and capitalism. And then let's fight. Like, what is the seduction process? This movie, you're right. The movie, like, if they would have dramatized that, this movie would have fallen to its fucking knees, turned into nothing, because it would have been fucking creepy. But that's funny.
I don't know. It would have been.
I hadn't thought about
through
that.
the lens of like a random pervert outside of the bar would have been great. Maybe do a different movie, like a black comedy. You need Malkovich in it if you're gonna do that.
Different black comedy.
So I was gonna say, I know the twist. Everybody knows the twist, right? Mm-hmm. But like I am watching it through this time, which was the first time in like a long time, maybe over 10 years. I watched it with Kate. Kate was interested in watching it with us, so we sat down and watched it. I found that there was zero effort to hide the fact that Tyler was a manifest of his psychology. Like it was deliberate that he was there. They gave every hint you needed on the first onset of like 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the film that like he was like he was losing his fucking mind, and that either that was a hallucination or that it was somebody that he was manifesting. Like, and they gave you all the tools you needed to interpret that early.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so now thinking back to being befuddled by the twist when I was like 18, 19 years old, I'm like, oh well, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? Sorry. Well, I've been thinking, like, getting back to the music video thing, and I see that as like not a, and I don't know how we were characterizing it, but it's like it's not a bug, it's a feature. Like you know those guys that do the card tricks where they're moving their hands real fast and like find the fast card, find the card, find the card, find the card, da da da. You know, which shell has the thing underneath it, and it's all sleight of hand. This movie bounces you around so much and engages and brings up even film itself in some sort of like meta quality that you kind of go along with the subliminal images of Tyler, because you're like it's kind of a flashback and you don't know what to make of it. And on first viewing, like I really challenge anyone who, at this point, I would really have to challenge someone because everybody knows the fucking twist. But like a first viewer, like a virgin viewer, I challenge anyone to actually fucking figure it out, like right away. It's going to take them a little while to piece it together.
The brilliance of it is the emotional misdirection, because anytime, like anytime it seems like you could figure it out, it's sort of like, now Tyler's banging Marla and Edward Norton's feeling, kind of on the outs with Tyler. So it's like you can definitely understand it as sort of like he's being usurped, and you kind of go along with him on that emotional journey.
Yeah. Well, I just watch. He's in the airport. First of all, my favorite part of this movie, easily, hands down, is when he's talking to the guy at the airport, and there's that conversation about the dildo. Fucking love that guy. He's so good. He doesn't even have a name. He's just like, just telling him about the dildos. And he's just like, it's a dildo. And he's scratching his head. And like, I don't know. And he like stops him while he's talking. Like, just rewatch that guy. He's fucking the best part of the movie. So funny. Love it. But he watches Brad Pitt like steal a car early on. Like they really, when they finally interact, you're given every indication that they are physically distinct beings, even though all the hints are there. And actually, it's much better. Like I've been kind of perusing the book. Like here's how they concealed it in the book. Still, you never see me and Zsa Zsa Gabor together, and this doesn't mean we're the same person. Tyler doesn't come out when Marla's around. Like that's on page 65. I'm just like, you didn't even fucking like. I'd have figured this out immediately. And this movie doesn't. It's so much better than the book too. It's such a great script. It takes whatever is pure and good of this book, not pure and good, but I mean like whatever's good from it, and just like distills it, and it rearranges it into a perfect order. It's one of those.
But I don't know. You guys didn't feel like the interact. Like I found the interactions between Norton and Marla. Like I found Marla like they made her come off like a fucking lunatic. Well, that was the intention. But now rewatching it again this time, I found that like his reactions to her were like jarring, and hers were fairly reasonable.
Yes, I agree.
But and that like there were more hints there that were just sort of laid out for you as you went along.
Yeah, no, it's embarrassing.
Because you
it's
just
embarrassing.
storm of when he doesn't doesn't realize it, they were banging or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, she even comes in like sort of gropes him in the kitchen because they were just together. Like, yeah. And they just give you everything you need. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then like you said, and then they don't, right? Then or they take away the dangled carrot here and there, so you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, she just comes off. Yeah, and it's a weird sort of. It's that's such a fucking amazing trick, because the first time you watch it, she's just like, she's just a stupid whore, she's just bouncing, like she just fucks whatever, but like then you rewatch her performance and she's so touched by him and she's so hurt, and I don't know, Helena Bonham Carter is. This role could like, she doesn't show up a lot and she gives a lot to it and really makes it work in a way that maybe Gwyneth Paltrow.
I thought you were gonna say could have blown up her career. I was like, I don't know, her career is pretty out in the stratosphere. She's a huge actress.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know about her career. I would never say this would ruin anything. This is a fucking amazing performance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
she's
have
great
watched
in
some
this.
Harry Potters, bro.
Who is she in Harry Potter?
Bad guy.
She's a bad guy. Oh yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, who cares? The
So some Harry Potter fans care, man.
Harry Potter fans like fuck up. The
What?
yeah.
Whoa.
Okay,
all right,
go on.
All right. Okay.
The yeah, she's just like she's just so like owning the room, and she just like I really liked watching everybody, just the way they, they just look around, and like Brad Pitt's character, like it's weird, like he does this thing, and it's not actually I don't think it's in any of his other movies. He's just constantly like putting his tongue under his lower lip, through the whole movie, and like that's his thing, and he's like chewing gum, and like he has a distinct sort of, now I'm Tyler Durden, that I don't think I've seen elsewhere. I might, obviously I could be fucking wrong about that. But everybody's like really giving it.
Yeah.
She's good.
And then I was gonna say there was one other of the big tells for when you were watching it too, was the whenever what's his name? What's the main character's name?
Well, okay, yeah, there we go. We got to get to the nomenclature, because like, okay, I call him Jack with the understanding that he's also Tyler, but
Yeah.
I still think of them and talk about them as two different individuals. But obviously, like Jack is whatever's happening is Jack's processing of his
Jack.
fucking situation.
So Jack's sad sack of whatever. He I am whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
Jack. So Jack's, whenever he's having any interactions with Marla, you're not talking about me, are you?
Yeah.
You're not bringing me up, are you?
Yeah.
And he's saying it loud enough to be like heard by her, but she's not engaged with him, only engaged with Jack. Jack's the dialogue is chopped up so that you think that he's just seems distracted from her, that he's not actually like conversing with Jack, or she's not catching him converse with Tyler. So like I don't know, that was all there this time when I watched it, and I was like, fuck, like if you were, but I mean, like, I guess you don't watch it with such a critical eye either, the first go around.
Well, not in 1999. Like, this was the year of the twist, right? This is The Matrix. This was Sixth Sense. This was Fight Club.
Along Came a Spider. Man, my Along Came a Spider. You liked that. You liked that.
Yeah. Was there a twist? Was there a twist in Along Came a Spider?
No, I'm pretty sure it was just shitty.
It was just fucking shitty. Yeah, it's just like we didn't, we didn't keep our eye out for a twist back then, because like it wasn't. We were naive. it was like, I don't know what to say. But after that, we got hardened to the idea of a twist. But like, I think this movie did it so fucking well, and I guess I keep saying it, and you're saying it as too, James, in your own way, is like the hints. Like, you could just go over and over and over about like the endless hints, Oh
yeah, even when they're in the bathtub, like I think Brad Pitt's in the bathtub, but they're talking about their fathers or whatever, and he's like, my father is like, go to college, and Edward Norton's like, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's what my dad said
so
too.
Many little, so many little things.
I don't know, get married. Yeah. And you're just like, at a certain point, like, I've never had that conversation with, maybe I just haven't had, admittedly, I don't think I've hung out with you and cleaned my toes while you've had a bath, either of you. So that's a level of intimate. Yeah, I think it might have come up at some point.
I don't know about that, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we would have talked about what our dad said. Depends on which one of us was preaching, and like, yeah, that's what Tyler's doing in that situation. He's just like, and that's another thing that distracts us, because like, we agree with, at least I did, and Tyler Durden, the character, the first half of the movie, which the second half of the movie falls away from, because you just, for me as a youth, I just focused on the first half of the movie, and that was, I can't put a price tag. That's funny that I went to that. I can't emphasize how important that first part of the movie was for me. It was so important. And then you're like that. And for viewers, that's probably a lot of what you're thinking about too. You're like, no way are these two people the same fucking person. It's Ozzy and Harriet. They even say that in the fucking movie, of course. They're the odd couple, and you're just like, oh, this is an odd couple story, and it just keeps selling odd couple story.
Yeah, and Tyler's such a like mentor to him too. Like his philosophy is so seductive and just sort of saying a lot of things that you want to hear, and it's hard to Edward Norton is definitely the disciple.
Mm-hmm. And the movie's hilarious. Bob had bitch tits. You're like, you're just like, you're constantly like, you're laughing all the time. Like it's a dark humor, of course. It's a special humor.
Yeah. I couldn't bury my face in Bob's tits anymore. I'd cry, and then I couldn't sleep. Marla.
I love that. Yeah, Marla, when he gets so offended that chick Marla doesn't have testicular cancer. She's a liar.
He looks so fucking smug and childish.
Yeah.
What are you doing here, you tourist?
Yeah. And like you're just like, and again, it's a fucking trick. Like you spend the first half thinking about his feelings with Marla or whatever, and how she's ruined his support groups, and then that emotional valence comes over because she ruins the Tyler relationship, and that continues to distract us as well throughout the movie, and kind of gives it a core, because everybody can relate to feeling this is my thing and you took it, and now it's ruined. That basic childish fucking feeling.
Jealousy of just
jealousy. I guess that's the word for it.
This guy's my friend, and now you're taking him away. And
And then it gets projected onto the Project Mayhem people, and like that same basic situation, just like that emotional thing just keeps going throughout the movie until he realizes, like, well, first it was all stupid, he was like, it was all me the whole time, no reason to feel jealousy. It's which is kind of a weird emotional, like you can't actually learn anything from that, because like I don't think I have two personalities. I don't think I have two distinct personalities out there operating within the world, because I have like extreme and superhuman insomnia.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Or not.
Well, this movie really hinges on the fact that he has superhuman insomnia. Like he has a superpower, like an ability to just operate with 1 hour sleep per night. And in order to process the fact that he can't dream, he brings Peter Pan to life. And has him operate throughout the world.
I like closer to the end when he falls asleep and he's like, "Oh no, like how long has Tyler been operating?"
Yeah, am I going to bed, or am I going to bed earlier each night? Have I been sleeping later each morning? Yeah. I like. It is a superpower. It does give him a Joker gang by the end of it, right? Like it's. Yeah, and I just kept thinking about, like we already touched on it, but I really thought about the Joker, that movie, that like humorless piece of shit movie, and how much better, like just like how are you gonna do better than Tyler Durden bleeding on that mobster that kicks the shit out of him? You don't know where I've been. Like that scene is incredible. That's really where it starts. Well, probably a little bit earlier, but the starts taking the turn towards that sort of like paramilitary fascist organization.
Well, immediately after,
but it's fucking charming at that point still.
Yeah, immediately after that, he gives everybody their instructions. Tonight, you're going to go out and you're going to lose a fight.
Yeah. That's right. To grow the movement. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
the hose.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's hilarious.
So good.
The priest. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, was there more from that? Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I was gonna say, then it becomes like the what's the first rule of Project Mayhem? You're ask questions anymore.
Mhm.
It's like it just becomes increasingly like cultish.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's and that's the part of the movie that is it's so weird how people can it's like it's such an important part, but you can easily just forget that they kind of happen, or you just kind of like it's just part of the story, and just like the it's obviously very bad, and it's very like sort of totalitarian or whatever, but it's like it's played comedically. And the narrator doesn't feel disgusted by it. He just feels kind of shocked and disoriented by it. And so it's like fucking feels like a Douglas Adams kind of thing. Like, I woke up in a totalitarian society, and he's just kind of like walks down the stairs in his robe and slippers, and he's like, I'm in communist China. And but there's no moral revolt in that moment. And so we don't feel it either. But that's, like everybody's like, they're gardening, and someone's like, everything's clean, and they're slapping each other, and they're engaging in mantras, and they're out and performing like revolutionary violent acts. And it's just not sold to us how maybe we should find this disturbing. It's still cool because Tyler's doing it.
What point for you guys did it, like, or is there any particular point that it crystallized, like, oh shit, this has gone bad?
I gotta go on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that when the Project Mayhem really lifts off and like Jack starts not losing control of any communication with anybody, like he's not able to communicate with Tyler anymore. He's not communicating with the Joker crew anymore. That's when it sort of goes sideways, and then that's when I could see when the message gets a bit problematic. Now you're talking about like full blown domestic terrorism with bombings and like attacks on like institutions and things, and I can see where that message is a little iffy, but I mean, like, it's like anything else, like it's a fucking work of fiction. I don't know that critically anybody should have been butthurt about that, but
I guess I'm just trying to put forward I'm trying to give it that perspective it's due, because I do think the movie like rejects it, but I don't think it rejects it well enough. And I think
it doesn't. I think I totally agree with that. I don't think it does reject it well. I think there's sort of a happy ending to fucking bombing a few banks.
Yeah, and he's holding the hand of Marlon. He's like, you met me at a strange time in my life. Like, let's recount what your strange time of your life looked like. And like Project Mayhem, like all those guys still exist, and like that whole sort of fascist underground that he's created.
Yeah, Bob's head is still like blowing out. Like that's coming back.
Yeah. Which has made me always want to read those comics that you have, James. Like now, having done this, I want to read Fight Club 2 and Fight Club 3. I'm like, what the fuck?
I don't think I have Fight Club 3.
Oh, it's a relatively new
and then
release.
I was like, oh, this guy's on the gravy train now.
Yeah.
I saw 3.
I don't know. Yeah, I bet it fucking sucks because the novel is not
Oh,
great.
he did.
Yeah.
You know what it was? I can't remember. I read through 2 when I first got it, and I was like, oh, he did like a fucking double twist.
Oh, the old double twist.
Okay. The classic double twist. I think it would probably enrage you, but it would probably be funny to talk about.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll move off it in a second, but my understanding is that like Marla gets bored and wants Tyler back, and so she stops Jack from taking his meds. And like, am I wrong about that, or is that the plot of 3?
I can't remember, but and then I think that I can't remember how the twist worked. I think there was a twist that Tyler was there all along, or I don't remember.
Fucking Christ, of course he is. Okay, all right. Tyler's there all along. So what brought us there? Yeah, okay, so the movie doesn't. It shows him rejecting Tyler, obviously, like violently, saying like, I don't want this anymore, but it happens at the end and before the buildings explode, and so like I guess I'm just trying to be fair to those individuals that view this movie, that it doesn't do like it sells one thing even though it's trying to do another, like the coolness of it is more powerful than the narrative itself.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. The thing is, I think, yeah, like there's a reading where, the shooting himself in the face is an exorcism of Tyler, like a very violent one, as you say. And it is Tyler, the anger of that revolution. He becomes increasingly like violent, angry about it. You could read him as the sort of manosphere, right? And so he chooses at the end Marla over him, and there is a bit of an inversion there, like when his apartment blows up. Yes. He calls Tyler. He has the choice between calling Marla or Tyler. Chooses Tyler, and then at the end he takes her hand. And I guess like there's a reading where the movie could still be saying that getting rid of capitalism is necessary. We've blown up these the credit, like the thing that's keeping like people stratified, but without that anger. But he still created an army out of like all these men. Like maybe I read a really good article posted on LitHub about Fight Club and why nobody gets it. It was a good reading. They made out the point that today it would be like him gathering an army of incels and turning them into an army. Yeah that's it. Because there's no women. There's like, it's just like it is these guys, like, it's men only. It's boys only, and they're very much, but it would be kind of humorless if that was the case. Like, it's we were innocent. We were innocent in 1999. Like we didn't appreciate the toxicity that was just bubbling under the surface. And this movie, like, it speaks to that, and it gives expression to it in a really like meaningful or a really strong way. But if you reproduce it now, like, these same fucking individuals would storm the Capitol on January 6th. They would believe you. They would take it just straight. And that is sorry. You don't think these motherfuckers would be QAnon?
I don't. There's an arguing point too for like taking that type of like person or that type of group or that mentality and saying like that's an incel, and they're saying like, well, what's an incel now? Like you've sort of like that kind of got tagged as like somebody who can't participate in being a Chad, So like if you can't secure a woman and participate in like regular Joe society and be a good hardworking capitalist, pull your bootstraps up and open up a business, be an entrepreneur, then you're an incel. So even that's like sales pitched in its own way. As pro-capitalism. Yeah. Sorry, but I don't know if that's a little off base, but no. I think you're touching onto something perfectly. Like, this movie's not against capitalism as such. It's against women. It's against like this. We don't have it. We're us men. We don't have a Great Depression. We don't have a Great War. We don't have a realm in which we can, like, in the old days when men were men, we used to go out onto the range and we used to like do the cows and we used to or work in the factory and stuff like that. And that shit's all gone. And now we work these white collar bullshit jobs and we feel trapped. And at the same time, women expect us to be manly, but we can't because we don't have any of these cultural artifacts of manliness left to us. And as a consequence, we are frustrated and trapped. Like that thing that I just described, that's what produces incels. And it's not anti-capitalist because each of these guys would be so fucking pleased to just just fuck a bunch of women and make a bunch of money. Like, it's not making money and fucking women, like, that's not the problem. It's just the fact that they're not making money because they feel that their cultural hegemony has been removed and their economic status has been declined. And that they're entitled to, like, not just like of course, the most beautiful of I was promised a supermodel life. Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, we were sold a certain vision. It's all contained in Tyler's statements. We were sold that we were going to be heroes and stars, and and what follows from that. I'm going to fuck the most beautiful women. I'm going to.
That's still, but I feel like that's still being sold. That's still what's on the table by this.
Oh, you mean by the movie?
Just less and less, just in general.
I think it would be more damning to say that the movie still sells that, and I think it still does. I think the fact that Brad Pitt is the one telling us these stories completely erodes, like it makes a mockery of the very act of him being Tyler Durden. Like imagine Norton played Tyler Durden through this movie. Different movie. Totally different.
That's true.
You would,
yeah. And then you have to think too, Marla chose Jack also, as a side note. She didn't pick Tyler.
She called thinking, yeah, you're right. But then when Tyler, Tyler shows up, she's like, I called you. And then she's kind of like, I'm happy. Good. You're like, it's a sexy version of Norton, Rupert or whoever I thought I was fucking calling. Yeah. And then she thinks it's him the whole time. But it's clearly, he's obviously very mentally ill and very troubled. She puts up with a lot of bullshit, which she ought not to have. A lot of sort of emotional abuse, but she.
Well, I mean, like she's given out a lot of abusive behavior herself, also, but mostly in full reaction to total insanity.
Yeah. When Helena Bonham, Carter, I don't know Helena, I don't know her. It's weird to say her full name, but I don't want to call her Carter either because that sounds like. So I'm just gonna say her full name. When HBC was talking about playing her, she was just like, I didn't like the fact that I didn't want to play her. I wanted to play her as someone who had a big heart and maybe wanted to save Tyler/Jack. And that's how she played it throughout the movie, and I think that actually is how it ends up coming off, because that's the only reading that, like, she's because she's also like, there's two polars. We don't spend enough time with. There's an alternate version of this movie where we just follow Marla around, and it's equally cool and interesting. But this movie doesn't spend enough time showing that she's like sort of cool and interesting and has her own point of view and stuff like that. But she is still the other polarity here for Jack. And as Chris had said, like he's trying to choose between her and him. And in the end, he's like, I don't want him. I want her. And so, yeah, but if she sucked, that choice at the end would have been empty. We wouldn't have felt anything about it. But so fucking space monkeys, man. I love the house that they live in.
Oh yeah.
The shitty house. I don't know if he's squatting in it or.
Yeah. They're like, man, fucking Meatloaf with his huge fucking tits.
Meatloaf's awesome in that movie. He's really good.
Oh my goodness, yes, yeah. They were
champion bodybuilder.
Yeah, they were, and he had been trying to lose weight apparently, and like it was funny. I guess they called him in and they didn't expect him to talk the way that he talked. He just he's so childish. He's so he has like, talking about Fight Club for him is just like it's just like a really childish game. He sells it so well with that. If you think about like how he can sing, and he's just so tiny. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, when you guys probably saw this quote, but Fincher talking about the movie, he was saying that his daughter had a friend named Max, and this kid told his daughter that Fight Club was his favorite movie, and he's like, I said never talk to Max again.
That's fair.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun recognition. I think somebody said Fight Club's their favorite movie. You really got to question but it's so like it really is so good. Like if you
it's
that. Like,
it's. Oh, go on.
You just have like if you understand that it's satire, it's I guess it's hard for a lot of people, but
Yeah, in that article, like the men who still like Fight Club, the person writing it, I think it's, I don't know their gender. They were taking the book out of the library, and they say that the librarian couldn't. It was a female librarian. She couldn't control her sort of reaction to like giving the book out, and she was like, my boyfriend. I had an old boyfriend who made me watch it endlessly. And but not only made me watch it endlessly, but like went and read the book and also wanted me to realize its genius, and I had to agree with them. Like, isn't this movie so fucking good? And yeah, man, like, God, if if someone who can't critically engage with this material, like maybe someone would say like, oh, isn't it so fucking good because it's so twisty and turny and blah 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 and satirical, but it's just like, if your position is just like, isn't this movie so true? And then I would be concerned. And I'd take a step back, or I'd ask you a couple questions, and depending on your answers,
exactly. What do you like about it?
yeah. So what's so good about that? Yeah, but I love this movie. I've seen it a billion times. I could watch it a billion more. It's so fun. And so funny, and there's always stuff to look at in it.
I was gonna say, and I think a testament to it too is like even at my house that Kate actually watched it with me, or she was interested in watching it with me. Like we watched quite a few movies and review them, and I will tell you, selling one of them to her is not an easy task.
Right.
So the fact that she was like, Fight Club, I'll dig in for that. I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's not to like. It's immediately beguiling, and it comes from, even though it made $100 million, it comes from that $300 million space.
It's in the magic realm.
Yeah.
And by the way, back to Se7en for 30 million. Hey man, listen, if you put a good effort into your cinematography, take your time and use practical effects, you could still make a movie.
Fucking right. Yeah, man.
Fucking stupid ass CGI. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. There's no CGI. There's CGI in Fight Club, but it's for those cut scenes or when they had to point paint all over a building. It's.
I know. I'm still really comfortable with I know this is a bad example because probably it's a gajillion dollar budget of full CGI, but Guardians of the Galaxy, if you need a Hulk type character, you hire Dave Bautista. That's what you do. You don't fucking CGI it like a crybaby. You find a mutant and you hire him.
So yeah, didn't do that here though. They didn't have to.
Didn't need it. Well, Brad actually has mutant genetics.
Beauty.
High end fucking six pack.
Yeah. I just out of this, I watching these two movies and seeing how they're different. Like Brad Pitt is the kind of guy that he never stops being Brad Pitt. Like I recognize that, but he kind of, and so if you bring him into a movie, it's never going to be sort of realistic, but because he'll never disappear, and so it's always got to. He's playing these versions of himself, but like I gotta give him credit. He finds different versions of himself, and listening to him talk, like he puts a lot of thought into what he's doing, and he really thinks about his craft. And watching him, just like looking closely at his face, there's something there. He also has a better. Edward Norton is very cerebral when he talks about these movies, but he has a terrible memory. Brad Pitt is always right. And they always have to sort of correct him. And it's weird. Like he doesn't talk smart, but he knows what he's talking about. And so that's cool.
I heard a great quote about Brad Pitt once, that he's a character actor in a leading man's body. I think
yes.
Like he's a character actor like that. You gotta think of him that way, and he's great at it.
Yeah. That's a perfect way of putting it. That's excellent. So anyway, Do we have anything else on Fight Club? Anything petty, or how do we think about Edward Norton?
Oh, I'll give you one petty complaint.
Please, yes.
Yeah. The CGI that we were just talking about, the
Mhm.
like the penguin stuff, that
It
really felt
sucks.
like Ally McBeal to me at this point.
Deep cut. Deep cut.
Man, shot right there.
Yeah, you're right though. It looks like fucking shit. Slide. You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
A dancing
yeah.
baby? Get the fuck out of here.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to follow that up with. I mean, I like Edward Norton. I always find he's great, but I guess he's ridiculous to work with. So, I mean,
That's what's happened to him, right? Like that's why he doesn't really show up much anymore. People don't like him.
apparently,
Except in Wes Anderson films. He's always in the Wes Anderson films.
Yeah, they contract, and I guess it depends who he's working with or whatever, but or it depends on what your tolerance to strange behavior is, or method acting, or whatever the fuck he's up to. But yeah, I know he was actually he was contracted by Marvel to play the Incredible Hulk right through the Infinity War, like
right.
And they did the Hulk movie, and it was a fucking nightmare, I guess, for every single person on set, including the director and all supporting actors. And they were like, yeah, he's got to go. And they just fucking pulled Ruffalo out and replaced him.
Interesting. Neat. Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's fine.
That's well documented. Like,
yeah. No, I'm not doubting it. I'm just like, I'm kind of processing
about
it.
that if you want. I'm not really sure what his behaviors are like or whatever. I'm sure you could get right down into the nitty gritty if you wanted to read about it. But I just found it interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, because a lot of, okay, well, I don't know. We'll drop the subject in just a second, but my first thought is like, the contract for these fuckers in these Marvel movies is so constrictive. It's just like, you're going to show up in 5 of these. You got to go do your press tour. You got to do this. You got to do that. But if the situation is just like he's shitty on set, that's a big deal too. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, it depends if you're fucking Rob Downey or Sam Jackson and you have like a fucking career resurgence and fucking line your bank account with gajillions, then I mean, it went pretty smooth for you, the decade of Marvel life.
Yeah, because you're kind of ancillary, but my understanding is like some, it's boo-hoo-hoo rich person. Don't get me wrong, but like when they sign up for these things, like there is a gruelingness to it, and you can't do any other movies, or you don't really have time to do other movies because they want you to go around like jerking off in front of everyone.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
That sounds okay to me.
Yeah. Like I could see. Yeah, that contract sounds good, right? But I do not want to. Like, at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck about these millionaires because one, they're making movies I don't give a fuck about, and then 2, I don't give a fuck about them. So it can't. But it's still interesting. You can still sort of sympathize with it. You'd be like, I don't really want to be in that circumstance. Like if I was already an established star, or I was comfortable operating at a certain sphere in the $300 million sphere where I thought that movies are interesting and being made, I'd be like, fuck that.
And it depends too, though. When you get into a scenario and you're in one of these movies and you're Edward Norton and they're like, hey man, like we're doing this, this, and this, and that's because we have like direction from fucking up on high. And you're like, nah, I want to do this with the shot because I'm fucking Ed Norton.
Right.
I can see it just being like, we need more of a yes man for this type of scenario.
Well, exactly. Yeah, because like listening to them talk with Fincher, like Fincher and Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, like they fucking bromanced on this goddamn movie. Like listening to them talk, like they were like, no, this was like we talked to you, like I pressured for this scene, and you remember we recast this because I thought this and that. Like it's a collaborative effort,
Yeah, and I could see that. I could probably see that happening with a Wes Anderson movie. Now that you say that, I mean, where you're gonna run on these like awkward, cringy, comedic incidences of fucking ad lib and shit. That's probably a good sphere for him to be in.
Yeah.
That does make a lot of sense.
Well, also maybe
speculative.
might also be a piece of shit. Don't get me wrong, folks.
He might be a
I
stupid fuck.
Yeah,
Looks
yeah.
like one, to be honest.
yeah. So anyway, all right. So James, once upon a midnight dreary, you gave this movie. You were like, "What's it?" I asked you, "What's a 10 out of 10?" And you were like, "Fight Club's a 10 out of 10." And so, like without prejudice to future opinions or anything like that, and I really don't give a shit. Do you still feel that way? Because I love this movie. It's
I
fucking
think
great.
I do. I think
Yeah.
I do. I think
Yeah.
that there's that there like this is from fucking what 99.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like this stood right up. This you can fucking play this for anybody, and they're gonna be like, holy shit, like to this day. And I think that's crazy and unusual. And I think in 20 years it'll still be a cool timepiece. I don't know. I still think it's a 10 out of 10. I don't know about the other movie that I said was a 10 out of 10 in that.
I don't recall.
It was
Yeah.
7.
Was it 7 also?
No, it was 7.
Which I've now fallen slightly
kidding.
more critical on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Chris, I
Yeah,
think,
no, it
That's
was
a lie.
sold me on. I
Mhm.
think Chris actually sold me on a turnaround for like basically like historic influence of every fucking police thing that's happening on television or film since that movie. So that has to account for something big.
Nice.
Yeah, it goes up with like it or not, maybe it's the same thing like with me and Blade Runner, where I was like, you know what, I recognize the fact that this changed everything, or was a huge deal, but like I don't really love the movie, like it just doesn't do that thing for me. I don't know if that's like Seven's a little different because it's grittier, and you're right, like I like watching Vertigo or Rear Window, like it's kind of suffers from the Hitchcock thing, where like I really mean that, like I'm not just to sympathize with you, but like I think even 20 years from now it'll become even more classic, but in the way that like it'll go kind of down that road, even though like still I think it still holds up. I think if you're just patient with it and you understand what it is, then you're just like, fuck, cool. I'm hesitantly giving because I don't know, at the time when you said it, I kind of gave you shit about it in my mind. But you know what? Yeah, man, this movie's a 10 out of 10. It's fucking great. I can't find a flaw with it other than the goddamn slide thing, other than that CGI.
The penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time finding anything that's gonna well, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of movies that'll trump it or be better or be more grand, but I mean, like, it's got to be it's at the top of the pops. I don't know.
Oh, it's a RoboCop.
I'd have a hard time refuting that.
It's a RoboCop? Yeah, man.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Seven Samurai, but it's a RoboCop for sure.
I struggle a bit with Fight Club because that core ambiguity over like what are you supposed to take from it, like it's just kind of hard to process. But I do agree that it's got to be a 10. Like what more do you want from a movie in terms of like just like its ability to hold up? It's funny as hell. Like it's interesting, it's thought provoking. They can't help the fact that people just often don't get it. So fuck those people.
Yeah.
Art is art.
It's kind of it feels like to me like in whatever, you can pick apart the ideology and talk about the specifics and stuff like that. And again, like that, it's such a rich movie. You can have that discussion. But I see it in the tradition of like Metropolis or something like that. Like where it's just such an old kind of theme in movies where just like the working class and their response to it and concerns regarding women and culture and society and blah. And it's not a science fiction story because obviously, but it takes place in a magical realm where something like this could happen. Like and it is unfortunate what some people take from it. They don't realize they're being made fun of. Like the very people who love this, like that really love this movie, don't understand the joke is on them, or that identify with Tyler too strongly. Like they don't realize the joke is on them because Tyler seems so cool, you know. But you're gonna get your brains blown out as you're trying to storm the Capitol, bro.
Pretty much true.
The guy that cries in court.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he'd be the Q Simon.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.